Because, birds aren't real, right? Today, we're going to be doing some photo compositing, also referred to as photo bashing or Photoshop bashing. And essentially, compositing, all it is taking a bunch of different images and collaging them together into one image. It's a really great tool to have. You've probably seen it in images like these where they'll combine different animals and food together, or images like these, which I don't really know what the heck it is. But regardless, it's a great tool to use for a couple reasons. One, if you're not very good at illustrating yet, or you're having difficulty illustrating a specific thing, you can use photo compositing to act as some sort of guide to creating this vision that you have. You can also use it if you really just like taking photos. I know I use photo collaging in a lot of my own work. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get into it. Before you begin, you want to make sure that you have a good concept. To get a good concept, you're going to probably need to do research. And even if you already have some sort of idea or concept, you can enhance that idea by doing more research or just diving in deeper to the idea that you're trying to explore. You want to continue to hone and refine your concept and figure out the best way to present it. Once you have a good idea, you're going to start sketching that idea and just kind of figuring out how you want to lay it out, what it might look like, etc. After you have that initial sketch or sketches and thumbnails kind of drawn, you can begin searching for images to accompany your idea. Now, a big thing that you'll want to do when you're finding images, you want to make sure you're finding royalty-free images for the most part. And some great resources are Pixabay, Pexels, Unsplash. I use those guys a lot. I'll leave some links in the description so you guys can check out those websites. So while you're doing this, you may run into an issue where you can't find images to accompany your idea. In that case, you're going to want to repeat steps 1 through 4 until you have an idea that is both feasible and, again, communicates your concept. So this may take a little while, but once you have your images, you're going to go ahead and open up Photoshop and import those images. Once you've imported those images, we're going to start masking them out. Masking is huge in compositing, and we want to make sure that we do this correctly. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you're using the right tool. You can use the magic wand tool, however, a lot of time this tool will not get you where you want. So I always use the quick selection tool, and I use this tool because it gives you the options to not only select, but if you hold down the Alt key, you can also deselect areas and just kind of paint in and unpaint what you want to be selected. So when you apply your mask, the mask looks nice. All right, now our images are all masked out and looking great. So we're going to start arranging our composition. The composition is huge in communicating your concept. So make sure you experiment where the things are laid out and ask yourself, how does this affect the story? How does this affect my concept? Etc., etc. Also, make sure you're taking into account the rule of thirds, movement, etc. Where's your eye leading you? All those principles and elements of design. Once you have your items laid out in a way that you like and that you think communicates the concept the best, we're going to start adjusting the levels and colors to make sure all the images feel cohesive. In regards to using adjustment layers, I specifically like using the hue, saturation, and the levels adjustment. Both of those are relatively easy to kind of change and tweak the image so that it feels cohesive with others. Another quick tip is if you want to apply the adjustment to a specific layer, you can go to the Layers panel. Make sure the adjustment layer is directly above the layer you want it applied to. Drag your cursor between the two layers and hold down Alt. You should see this little symbol And once you see it, just go ahead and click, and that adjustment layer should be applied to that layer. Now that the colors, levels, tones, etc. are all looking good and feel good, we're going to go ahead and do some touches with the focus so that we are leading the viewer's eye in the correct places. So in order to do this, a lot of times what I'll use is just a simple Gaussian blur. So here I'm taking the background and I'm going to Effects, Blur, Gaussian blur, and applying that to the background. And what this does is it makes that background be more out of focus, which makes it easier for the viewer's eyes to focus on the chicken and the eggs. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that chicken layer that I created, I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to rasterize it, and then I'm going to add a Gaussian blur to it, and then I'm going to set it directly above my other chicken layer, and I'm going to add a layer mask to it, get one of my soft brushes out and do kind of like a gradient out, and what this will do is it'll make it feel like the chicken kind of starts blurring out as he kind of recedes into the background a little bit. And again, this will help keep the viewer's eye where I want it, which is where the chicken and the eggs are. Now we have the viewer's eyes where we want them to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to add those final touches that really makes this piece stand out and unique, etc. And so this is where you guys can kind of experiment and try your own things. So I went ahead and used that brush that I was using in previous videos, and I used it to outline the chicken. Again, that was to kind of separate it more from the background so that the chicken really stood out. And again, using that same brush will help it feel tied back to some of the other designs that I've created. So it just kind of unifies my work as a whole. Finally, I'm gonna add some typography to this. I just like typography. I think adding some words gives it some extra interest and some additional depth. I honestly didn't think too much about the words. I just kind of wrote some stuff down. Again, to add a little bit more interest, make it so when the viewer looks at this piece, they start to look through the words, and it just hopefully will be something that kind of keeps their eyes there a little bit longer, almost like this extra little bonus Easter egg kind of content. And once you have those final little special details added to your design, you can go ahead and wrap it up and you have your composite finished.
That's going to wrap up today's video. Thank you guys for joining me. I thought this turned out pretty cool. I wasn't too sure about the chicken versus egg thing when I first started, but as the idea continued to develop, I started liking it more and more, and kind of combined that with the whole, government bird conspiracy meme, essentially, because, birds aren't real. Right. But yeah, let me know what you think. If you guys have any ideas on how I could improve this or any just thoughts or suggestions, let me know in the comments. And other than that, I will see you guys next video.